Hello, everyone. It's Dan King here, as always, with another Fireside Chat. And it's my pleasure to be with Erik Luhrs today. We profile C-suite leaders, or we profile creator CEOs on this show. These are business leaders that really want to change the world. They don't just want to make a profit. And Erik is the world's only PsychiCognitive peak performance coach. He's the founder of Be-Do Scale, hybrid business and leadership coaching, and the creator of the Guru Selling System, subconscious lead generation, persona positioning, the fieldwork method, and the author of Be-Do Sale. Through his work, he helps executives and leaders unleash the outrageous growth potential trapped within their business and themselves. He's got a Bachelor of Communication. He's a practitioner of NLP, a certified stage trainer and accelerated learning trainer. He's a certified personal fitness trainer. He's studied the Silva mind control. This is like the lengthiest bio ever. I love it. He's done a lot of things. Reiki energy healing, 11 different martial arts systems with multiple black belts, as well as meditation, spiritual alchemy, visualization, feng shui, many other physical, mental, and spiritual improvement methodologies. He's worked with everyone from solopreneurs up to Fortune 500 companies like Credit Suisse, LG, Microsoft, McGraw-Hill, McDonald's, and Salesforce. He's helped his clients create miracle outcomes like growing sales pipelines by 66x in just 8 weeks, creating 300% growth in a single quarter. Impressive. He's been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Chief Executive, Selling Power, and many more podcasts and publications. Erik, you bring a little street cred with you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. As I love to say, I hope I live up to the hype.
Let's see. So what's most exciting for you these days? Now that we've done a bio, the audience knows the basics of who you are. What are you really excited about right now?
I'm really excited about what seems to be, I'm actually most excited about what I think a lot of people are afraid of right now, which is this ripple after effect of COVID, and sort of looking at the world and everybody's going like, everything seems to be kind of off kilter right now, right? Because it's like, all right, everything seemed to be normal up until 2020 and then COVID and now all of a sudden there's war and there's inflation and oh my heavens, we're all going to be, the Supreme Court this and the government that and whatever. And so everybody seems to think that the world's going insane.
Mm-hmm.
But as the Chinese say, out of chaos comes opportunity. And so I believe, that right now there is huge opportunity that's going to shake out of this. And not just in a case for business, because yes, out of, talk to any billionaire, out of any crisis, yes, they'll figure out how to double their revenue. But it's for the world itself. I think we're coming to a point where people are starting to realize that there's a lot more to life than making a living, and kind of bridging that, because it used to be like work-life balance, and now I believe that we're getting to this point where we have to understand work and life are the same thing. They're all part. It's all part of the whole. Life is one thing, one aspect is work. But this balance, I think, I'm very excited that people are starting at all levels, starting to pick up, hey, there has to be a balance simultaneously at the same time.
Yeah. Interesting. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on my relationship to work recently and thinking about why is it that I think this is the case for a lot of ambitious people, a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs, that sometimes, I think I have a pretty rich life outside of work. I have a happy relationship. I have tons of hobbies, tons of friends. But there is a part of me, especially after 7 years of entrepreneurship, that feels a lot of adrenaline when I'm working, and then sometimes a little flat when I'm not, right?
Right.
And I think this is the case for a lot of ambitious people. And understanding the deeply psychological and spiritual relationship we built up to work and how that might be impairing the rest of life, it feels like a great moment to reflect on that.
Yeah. It's happening whether or not you want it to, I guess, is where we're at.
Yeah. And I'm curious, have you thought through how is it that ambitious people who, for better or for worse, often measure themselves by the results they obtain in business more than anything else? How is it that kind of person can feel the same way while working and not working? In other words, how can they avoid this adrenaline rush, this crazy roller coaster that entrepreneurship and business are for so many people? How can work and the rest of life feel the same? And is that the objective I should be shooting for?
Well, I mean, let's look at the language first, my work and then my life. I think the first thing to do is to get over the construct of separation. That somehow it's like trying to separate part of a tire from another part of the tire. Like, well, you do that and you go off the road very quickly, right? So it's like, okay, it's a whole. You're a holistic being, and there's nothing wrong with being excited about your work. As a matter of fact, it's a hell of a lot better life than being somebody who's like, at 4:59 in the afternoon, you're like, God, it's like tick, tick, tick. So if you are blessed to love your work, don't hide it. Don't try to run from it. You want to spend time doing it, go ahead. You want to, and it's like, then I'm ignoring my family. Well, how can you get your family more involved? Or how can you work from home? Or how can you work while you're with your family? There's many times I'm driving to places with my family, but, I've got my headset in and I'm talking with a client. And I'm very happy, you know what I mean? Like the kids aren't like, I don't have to pull off to the side of the road, and have the, I'm like, okay, and we'll still go to Disneyland. So it's finding a balance that feels good to you. So, when we can feel when we're out of balance. I mean, when, if you're ignoring your kids, they will let you know.
Yeah.
Just like your business will let you know if you're ignoring it, right?
Yeah.
Your business will start complaining, your family will start complaining. So you can kind of, if they feel a little left out, whatever, you can sort of notch out some extra time. But it's really about not being afraid to be who you are, and not being afraid to not have to be like, okay, well, the world is expecting this of me. Who gives a rat's butt? You know what I mean? Like, who cares what the world expects of you? The people we admire most in the world are not the people who did what the world expected of them. They are the people who did exactly the unexpected. They did new things. My favorite example, right now for somebody I think is the epitome of successful, Richard Branson. I said, think about his life. He spends his time on a tropical island having people pay to come to him and pitch him on multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar ideas while he jet skis and eats, fresh seafood and gets a tan. Like, he for him, work is life, life is work. It's all fun. It's all fun. And if you're having fun, trust me, his family isn't there like, Daddy, you're ignoring me. And, it's like we're jet skiing and this guy's telling me something and we're having like, this is it. This is the, so you've got to find your way to being what, for lack of a better term, a baby Branson and staging up until you are.
So I really pick out from what you just said, like, who cares who the world wants you to be right. Yourself, right? So easier said than done in some cases because the world puts pressure on us, right? How do you help a client? How do you help a CEO client become more themselves?
Permission and exploration. So a lot of who we believe we are, matter of fact, all of what we believe we are most commonly, is a set of conditioned responses that we have been trained into since the age of 5.
Yeah.
Because that's when the analytical, I use that term specifically, analytical mind kicks in.
Yeah.
I believe, when we are born, we are all, and, I'll say woo-woo terms a little bit here, but I believe we come from source. You can put Allah, God, Yahweh, whatever word you want on it. And I believe when we are babies, we're all source. We're all just like in touch, even though we're in the physical form, we're still kind of out here. And then when the analytical brain kicks on, we start listening to people saying, pay attention, pay attention. Stop talking to your invisible friend. Stop staring out the window. Stop daydreaming. Stop. Focus here. Focus here. Focus on this. Pay attention to me. Do this. Marry this person. Have that job. Do conditioning. And so a lot of times when people say, I want to be my true self, I want to, I say, I want to be able to run out in the world and be my true self. You don't even know who that is. And so the real first thing is about saying, okay, I don't know. For the most part, I don't know who I am. I know how I behave, but who am I? And a lot of times I'll start conversations with a new prospect. And I'll say, okay, so who do you want to be? They'll be like, I want to be the person who makes $50 million a year. Like, okay, that's an outcome. That's not a beingness. That's an achievingness or a resultness or an outcomeness. That's not who do you want to be. And they'll get pissed off because we'll go around in this circle for 5, 10, 15 minutes until they finally, at some point, they'll be like, I don't know. I don't even know who the hell I am. Bingo. Okay, now we can start. Because then it's like, okay, then they learn about the conditioning, and then it's like, okay, then explaining to them, you have free will. That's your greatest gift. Okay. And as soon as you fully absorb, understand, appreciate, respect, know without doubt that you have free will, you will be free. Because then all of a sudden there's this schism that happens, and you start to realize there's my body's reaction, there's my brain's reaction, there's there's conditioned responses, and then there's my consciousness. These two separate things.
Yes.
And then you can start to observe and say, is my, and it gets funky, but it's like, is my body responding the way that I truly want to?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it taking me in a direction, the same patterned response.
Yeah.
But I know where that goes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, so then what would I want? And now you can activate something different, because the way that you deactivate one side of the coin is by activating the other, not by trying to push against, saying no, 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 because then you're still giving attention to it, but going, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And you start moving over into that new beingness.
Yeah. I think people are blown away when you can show them that many of the things you think you want, you don't actually want, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of the most interesting things I've ever learned is intuition. So I did this sort of intuition training about 3 years ago. And I come away with it. And I'm curious if you agree with kind of the mental model of, I can feel in my body when any decision comes up, any possibility, any opportunity, I can feel into my body and I can get a yes or a no. I can get a reflection from a deeper part of me, right? That enables me to intentionally choose, yeah, I actually want this or I don't. And I find living by that deeper truth, not only does it produce better business results, I just feel more like a human being again. I feel like I'm exercising my free will.
Yeah. Well, basically, there's only two energies that we have. If we look at it, there's free will. And the more free we are, the more that we pursue freedom, the higher and the faster our energy moves, and we feel it in our body. We feel bigger. We are more aware of what's going on outside of us, around us, what's coming. All of a sudden serendipity happens and everything. And then the exact opposite of freedom is constriction. And so usually when well, first off, it's like we attract more and more of the signal we're putting out. So crappier, worse opportunities come less when we're at this freer, higher energy. Crappier, worse opportunities show up when we're becoming more and more constricted, when we're more and more brain-based, as opposed to more and more, what I call mind-based, or higher self-based. Because I believe there's the brain and then there's the mind. There's like there's your individual CPU and then there's the internet. When you're based just in your individual CPU, you got however many megahertz of processing power and however many how much software you can fit in there, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't have a spreadsheet application in there, you could try to screw around with your photo editing system that you have in there and try to make it happen, but it's not going to be the same thing. But then you got to go out here, right? So
Yeah.
When you're more out here in energy and an opportunity comes, it's like, okay, you can feel it. And it's like, okay, I feel like this with it. Or if it shows up and it feels like, boom, then it's like, okay, it's going to take me down. It's going to take me into constriction. It's kind of like you just get that, like you said, that's what intuition is. It's not like this big, like, oh my God, it's this hard thing to learn. It's really just like, does it feel like it's taking me up and out, or does it feel like it's taking me down and slow?
I love it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And it can be so challenging sometimes because it's this direct confrontation with the conditioned response. A
Yes.
thing may show up that you're used to doing that an older version of you might have not even thought twice about.
Right.
But understand that in your body, there is a mechanism that enables you to exercise your free will, to really think carefully, to be, oh yeah, like, yes, this is it. Or deep down, if I'm really honest with myself, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it can seem immature in a way to say you don't have to do what you don't want to do, but I think it's the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about that, but just the word you used, immature. Look where maturity's got you.
Yeah, right.
If maturity worked so well, why do you have so many problems?
Yes.
So let us be immature. Let us be the baby again. You know, that's why I said the babies come out and people think like, you know, the baby's sitting there and the baby's laying there in the crib. It's like, hey, and it's looking at its hands, and I'm going, yeah, because it up until, you know, not too long ago, it was just energy. Yeah. And now it's trying to figure out how to be energy in a physical form.
Yes.
Yeah, you know? And that's the whole thing. It's like, so the more immature we are, the more we go back to our real power. And yet people think, you know, well, if we stick to this linear conditioning, but even look at how you desire. We don't like our real desires are sort of exponential, not, you know, like chronological, or not, you know, in a linear fashion. So because there's still this higher part of us that's like, come out and play, come out and play, come out of the linear, come out back into the field and play with me, because that, you know, and Richard Branson, he's all field. he is not screwing around with the linear anymore, you know. And I don't think he ever did, really.
Yeah.
You know, I think he was always like, you know, I think his I believe his catchphrase is "Screw it, let's do it." So, like, if that is the ultimate, like, come out and play, you know, kind of logo or slogan I've ever heard.
I wonder whether, you know, with all of these, so many entrepreneur trainings, so many coach trainings and personal development work urges us to lay out our vision clearly. But if I'm hearing you, it's going to be very tempting to use linear thinking to create that vision, right?
Right.
It'd be very easy to use linear thinking. And so is that truly what you want? Probably there are possibilities out there that are beyond even your wildest imagination that may be actually more what you really want.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't know what we truly want. We are at a lower level of beingness than where we want to be. And so at a low level of beingness, the lower version of yourself, like, let's say, you know, from 0 to 100 is levels of beingness, you know, 100 being, you know, completely energy based and floating and all this stuff, and 0 being like, I hate my life. And let's just say you're at level 8 right now. And level 8, you start espousing desires that would be equivalent to a level 15, you know, Ferrari and 3 mansions and yada, yada, yada. But level 8, you can't really perceive of what a level 15 life is like. Mm-hmm. So language is limiting. So it uses the best language it can. And it keeps throwing out achievements. You know, when I have this house and these cars and blah, blah, blah. But as soon as you go from level 8 to level 9, all of a sudden it changes, like boom, boom. And like, because now your perspective shifts. The landscape was flat when I was looking at it, but as I rise above it, all of a sudden, I see a hell of a lot more than I did. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's why, you know, when you talk to people and they say, you know, we do, you know, a 3-year plan. How often do you do it? Like every 3 weeks. because it's like you do it, right? You lay out like, oh, it's gonna exactly boop, 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 boop. Well, yeah, because that's what it looked like. And then you take that first step and you've changed the perspective. And all of a sudden the ground shifts. And now that 3-year plan, chuck it out. So when I would do a lot of work with people, rather than trying to use limited vision, in fact, this is, field work, which is what I do, FEELD work. I take them out into the field, into the quantum field using feeling. So my client where we got the 300% growth in a quarter, they had a plan. And so, I was working with the co-founder and I said, okay, we're going to play. And I said, what are your outcomes, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, what are the feelings? And ultimately we got to like 2 or 3 feelings that he wanted to have. That was really the outcome, because what we want is really happiness or whatever, freedom, happiness, yada, yada. So, okay, great. And then I said, wipe everything away, wipe your plans away, wipe your designs away. Took him into the field and said, okay, now I just want you to feel those feelings. And that's it. And then all of a sudden from the feelings, I'm like, okay, let's take you 2 years out. What are you feeling 2 years out? I'm feeling this, I'm feeling, okay. And then and it's a seeping back and a structuring backwards construct, which is like, okay, now I feel this. And all of a sudden different outcomes started kind of forming out of the mist. And it was like a completely different vision. And it like, okay, it's crept back. And I said, okay, now from this perspective, what are the actions you feel you take to move forward to that? He was like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And I got to boom, 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 300% growth. Because as opposed to linear growth, which would have been like, okay, if we follow our thing, we'll have 15% growth. You're like, who the hell wants to screw around with 15% year-over-year growth if you can explode in a quarter? And that's the whole thing. It's like, but you gotta be willing to, as we were talking about earlier, you gotta move out of the mindset of being a chief executive officer and become a chief expansion officer. And that's being somebody who's willing to play where where eagles dare to go or whatever. You got to be the one who's got to be willing to go there.
I love it. What a beautiful note to come full circle on, Erik. If folks want to learn more about your work, where on the internet, social media, where do you want to send them?
Well, certainly they can visit my website, Erik Luhrs. Make sure you put www in there. Still haven't figured out why it doesn't forward the other way, but www.erikluhrs.com. And they can also check me out on LinkedIn. And for those who would like to, try out PsychiCognitive work, field work, get a full-on session with me to really experience it, they can check out my one question power session, which is www.erikluhrs.com/power.
Fantastic. And we always love to end on a human note. So when you're not doing this powerful, important work in the world, what do you do for fun?
I am a binge junkie, believe it or not. I love sci-fi and I love fantasy. I have since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I believe that kind of keeps me creative, watching other people's, I watch shows like right now I'm binge watching the series For All Mankind, where they reimagine what would have happened if the Russians had made it to the moon first. And it's just like, but that shows you like just that little change that they had and the stories that have been spurred from it. That right there, as opposed to they made it first and blah, 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 some sort of linear thing, boom. It changed reality. And that's the same thing we're talking about doing here. So I kind of enjoy in my off time what I do in my on time.
I love it. That makes total sense to me, knowing you. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved learning about field work. I've loved selfishly getting a free session out of this and asking questions and gotten super valuable answers. And so it's always just a pleasure to be together, friend. It's been a blast getting to know you over the past couple of years and excited to see more people benefit from field work.
Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure.
All right.